this video, we're going to check out more about the Polyend play. Make sure to watch the first episode to learn the basics, because we're building on top of the knowledge from the previous episode. I loaded in the house pack and made a few patterns. So if I press patterns, we can see a bunch of patterns. But the current one we're in, pattern 1, is blank. And I loaded the pack by pressing the knob, going to samples, and then load sample pack, went down to house pack. Then I press load pack. Since I already did that, I'm just going to back out. As you see, it says back. So I want to show one workflow possibility that I would call setting up a palette. This is just one way you can set up notes and drums already set up when you're working with a pattern. So the only thing about this is you have to sacrifice one row, but more specifically, one variation of a row. So remember, we have variation here, and we have 16 variations. Before we do that, we have to make sure we're in the settings here. So press the knob, go to settings. Now go down to variation page. It says separate tracks. Now right now it's set to all tracks. So if I press any variation button in the column, it's going to enable every single track. Pushing the knob, let's change it to separate tracks. Now you can choose any track that you want. Now that it's set to separate tracks, let's back out. And for example, you could change this variation to 16 right here. And that's just to know that everything else is in variation 1. So this is our little palette. I'm going to disable it. Now what I want to do is choose sample. Now we can choose a folder. So let's start with a kick drum. Now I just choose a kick drum I want. So I want it to be that one. So I press here. Now I want to change the settings on it. So I want a little bit of low pass on there, a little bit of overdrive, not too much. Now what I want to do is add another kick drum here. What I want to do with that is just turn the volume down on it. Then another one. Now that one, let's change the repeat. So it's 2 hits in 1 step. Let's change it to 4. And then turn the volume down a little. Now what I want to do is make this play at a chance. We're going to turn that to 50%. And then this one, let's change that to 20%. Next I want to make snare. So let's go listen to those. So let's make that the snare. But I want to turn the filter on it a little. Okay, do one here. Let's turn the volume down a little bit. Let's micro move it slightly. Add a little reverb. Let's make another one. Change the repeat type. Change that to 8. Fade. Okay, let's do that chance thing again. Let's make that every 30%. This one. 40. Now I want to do a hi-hat. So sample. Let's go to hat. Now all these are pretty harsh sound. Turn the filter down. Make another one. Let's micro move that. Volume down a little. Maybe a little bit of delay. Another one. Let's turn up the low pass. Turn up a little reverb. Turn the chance down. Turn the repeat up. This one, turn the chance down. So I made the first ones here to always hit. And then these are just chanced. So if I press play here, it's actually playing our palette. So let's mute it. So now that it's muted, it's not going to play. We can just play this. And let's say, let's put a kick here. And maybe here, and add some of these. These are just chance hits. Maybe some here. Now here, snare. Let's make that hit every time here. Now we're just adding more chance hits here and here. Now we're adding hi-hats. These are the always hits. And then some chances. Okay, so how would we do something melodic? Well, let's go to sample and choose a synth sound. So it's just what we have to work with. So I'll just use that one. Now I just pressed view and we're looking at the keyboard. Again, there's 2 octaves, 1 octave here and 1 octave there. And that's a C. These are all the white keys. These are the black keys. So if I play this, it's just, I want to mute it down. So let's turn the filter down. Let's turn up some reverb, give it a bit of atmosphere. Some delay. Okay. So now I'm just going to add that one right here. And then let's change the sample. Let's turn that filter down. So we're just molding it sounds that we like. Okay. I can also maybe do that same one, except make it play backwards. So sample end, sample start. Let's see how it sounds. Now we can't hear it. Why? Because we press view. It's muted. So I have to hold down the knob. Okay, so that's what I have to work with. Now, I just hold that down, press here. I'm going to press view. Now, let's just choose some notes. Okay, just a couple of notes here. Now it's going kind of fast, so I want to change that. So I select the entire row. Then what we're going to do, let's turn the volume down a little. And also let's go to tempo. Now it says track speed. So make it 1/2. So now, there we go. A lot slower, just in the background. Now let's press shift and it disables anything that's selected. Now here I can add, let's try a note here. Okay. I'm just adding in some notes here. Now let's choose this one. That's just a very basic example of how you can create a palette. You could even make different variations. You could copy this over and then change them up and then have that as reference. Also, if you select the whole track and press copy, you can move it down, say to a new pattern, and then just go into the pattern and then press shift paste. Then it'll paste your palette. Now in our pattern here, let's just select this whole track. I'm just going to go into sample here. Okay, so I have some shakers here. So let's turn the filter down a little on it. What I want to do is fill this entire track with the shaker. So I'm going to press here. Now there's a button here that says fill. So it says here type. Now what I want to do is to fill it. So I just tell it Euclidean 16. Now if I do a different number, let's say 10, and I press fill, it's going to fill in 10 beats here all along the 16 steps. So if I change it 3, press fill, then it'll fill 3 evenly across. So if I want to fill it completely, 16, press fill, and now we have it. But if we listen to it, it doesn't sound too good. Let's just solo it. Press here. We can hear it just sounds kind of mechanical. So what I can do is press chance. Now, let's look down here in action and do play step. We've already illustrated that. Random sample, random note, octave up, micro tune, cut off, repeat. Now here's what I want. Random sample start. So now let's listen to it. So you can hear. Kind of breaks it up a little. So let's turn the chance down a little bit. Maybe cut off a little too. So I like that a whole lot better. Now that that's set, we can mess around with it. Makes it a little glitchy. Random cutoff. That's kind of interesting. You can hear micro tune. So yeah. There's also humanize. So that can kind of add a little bit of a shuffle to the beat. So let's take that. You can pan it. Let's say pan that to the left. And maybe the hi-hats to the right. So let's listen to the notes here. Have that soloed and selected. So let's try some different actions on melodic. Random sample. Random note. That sounds interesting. Random octave up. Random microtune. Of course, you have the different chances here. Let's take that an octave down. So shift, note. Let's turn it off solo. There's also randomize. Now what this does, whatever we have selected here, we can randomize different types here. So sample and folder, sample and pool, etc. There's so many different ones. And so we're going to turn up the randomize. That changes the sample in the folder. So if I turn it off, let's say the percussion, you can play around with that. Now if I like a setting, I press save, and then what it's going to do is save, lock in what we just randomized. Sample and pool. That sounds pretty cool. Let's save that. Okay, it's saved. So it's locked in now, what we just applied. Let's bring the note up. Let's try some other randomizations. So there's sample length. Let's turn that up. It's pretty cool. And then I can just apply it and then prints it right back in. Just press save. Let's change it. Texture. One octave. 2 octaves. Volume. Space. It's cool. Then there's nuke. Now this is just randomizing a whole bunch of stuff. And there's Duke Nuke. So that just randomizes everything like crazy. Depending on what you have here, it can be really good or bad results, because it's just randomizing things. No matter what screen we're looking at, if I press this button, it'll go to Performance View. So we see a whole bunch of colors here covering the grid. So the first thing you want to do is select what tracks you want to be affected by the performance grid. Just press play here. Okay, so everything is selected, including the drums. So this first area is going to transpose the notes. That's including the drums. So if I press this, for example, it goes down an octave. Press it again, it's going to reset back. So it can also go, let's say, up a fifth, or another octave, and then back down. So if you want something to latch, you just tap it and it just stays there. If you want something to just hold for a minute, just hold it down and let go. It's going to reset back. So this is low pass. And then this is high pass. Okay, so next is the overdrive and bit depth. So if I turn it up here, it's going to have more of overdrive sound. And then bit depth. Next we have rearrange. So this is going to change the track here. Just going to change it to go up a fifth. Just trying all these different ones. Now over here we have repeat. So the combination of all this is really changing the patterns a lot. Now these change pitch. So just be careful of those if you don't want something like that to happen. Alright, so next over here we have delay. So up here we have more longer delays. Now it got short. Now over here we have reverb. So there's just a lot of different reverbs here. Now let's actually turn off the percussion from being selected. I think that's everything. Let me check. Alright, that's fine. Now, what I want to show you here, only this is being affected, these tracks, and doesn't matter. If I press any of these, it's going to repeat, including the drums. So this is the entire audio field. It's just different timings. So you can kind of glitch it out, or just do like a little loop. But it will be the entire audio signal. Now over here is the same thing as here, except it's stereo. so it just zigzags or ping pongs back and forth. So remember, you can either latch it and like tap it like that, or you can hold it down and then when you let go, it'll go back. Now also, let's apply this to everything. Now what I'm going to do is show you, we can change any of these parameters. Any of them. So you just change everything on here. Now this, repeat, you can't change. Move, you can't change. Chance, you can't change. But everything else, I think you can use. So now, let's make that normal pitch, and all we're hearing is this pitch stuff. So what I can do is change any of these parameters. Now when I press perform, all of those parameters are going to switch back to normal. So everything was reset all the way back. So if I go back into perform, now it's going to change all these settings. Press perform, and it returns everything back. So when you're in this mode, you don't have to worry about it trying to mess up the track. Everything's back. So now let's just go through some of the patterns and just play around. So we have a bass track and it's being soloed right now. Let's turn this track on. Let's turn everything off. Alright, so perform. Let's just select everything. Let's just do a little rearrange. Got some reverb. Alright, now let's go back to patterns. Let's switch to this one. Solo. So it's actually the same bass line, but we have this sound now. Right here. You can't see it. There it is. Let's turn everything on. Everything's selected. Let's go into performance, just play around. Let's change the filter. Sample start. That changes it on everything. Sample fade in. change the sample. Press perform. Back to normal. There we go. And change things again. Press perform, right back in. Let's go to the next pattern. Actually, let's go back. I think I have variations. Let's check. Yes, I do. Alright, so let's change the variations here. I can still press perform and watch. We're in perform now. Now I can go back, change variations. Turn off variations. Now just keep messing around in here. Change the filter.